What's going on YouTube? WestHobbiesRC. So today we are back with something you have all been asking for, the OMP Hobby M7. So huge shout out to Spencer. This is his model. He wanted me to build it, so we have one here. We have the gold M7. We are running switch 693s on mains and 106s on tail, or 105s on tail. We are running, of course, nothing other than X-Nova 4525 530 kV. We are running Hobbywing 180, Theta servos, C1 on cyclic, T1 on tail, Icon 2 flybarless unit, and a Spectrum SRXL2. So go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started. So first thing we are going to do is assemble the head, of course. So we are going to start with our head block, and then we are going to move our way out. Now, on the head block here, you will notice there is a center bearing right here with this pivoting point. So we need to add these two screws right here, which are M4x8, a little copper washer or brass washer, and then we're gonna put a dab of Loctite on them. You're gonna install one screw per side, so you're gonna want to line up that right there, so that is all lined up. Then get your screw started. Once you get one started, kind of hold your hand in there. Don't tighten it all the way up yet. Now flip it over and then do the exact same on this side here. So now that we got that one in, we can tighten it down. And then if you want to, put your feathering shaft in to hold it while you tighten these screws down. Tighten one and come back and tighten the other one. Now pull your feathering shaft back out. All right, now we're going to install our O-rings. Now, the kit comes with two different options. You have the O-rings here, which is going to be 3 per side, or you have these guys right here, which is what they are calling their POM dampeners. So these are made for extremely hard and rigid. They're very solid. If you're going to be doing hard smack 3D, you do one O-ring and this dampener just like this, and it slides in. That is what you would use. If you're going to be mild 3D to regular flying, you don't need that. You're going to use 3 of these O-rings per side. Now, if you'll notice, there's 2 different types of washers here, and they are cupped. So we want to take the larger ID cupped, and we're going to drop that guy down inside the grip like that. And then we are going to take 3 O-rings. So we're going to do 1, come back, 2, and then come back with our 3rd, making sure it is all pushed down. And then we are going to come back with this, which is a smaller ID, cupped inside, and that is going to sit just like that onto the O-ring, and then you're going to stack the exact same on the other side. So now that we got our O-rings in both sides, a little bit of micro lube on them, I also added micro lube to the shaft. So now we are going to feed our feathering shaft through all the O-rings, and that is what the micro lube is for, is to help slide and not tear any of the O-rings. Make sure that this center is lined up, and then you're going to twist and just feed that guy all the way through. You can see it coming in. Make sure that is straight. You might have to kind of hold that into place while you're pushing it through. You can see it coming through, and now feathering shaft can come all the way through these guys. And there we go. So now let's slide that all the way through. And then you can push your O-rings back in that fall out. We are about halfway there. So now we'll just have to push this O-ring back into place. So now that we got that done, we're going to take our sleeve cups, so that way we don't forget them. And again, the cup side towards the O-ring. So you're going to put one there, and you're going to put one there just like that. Now set your head block aside, and we start on the blade grips. So now it's doing the blade grip. So I'm going to do one, and then we will do the exact same on the other one off camera. Top of the blade grip is going to have a mark on it for your center line. One really cool thing OMP did, and I give them huge props for it, is this little hole right here is a screw, so you can actually get in there and put grease into your bearings without having to take the head apart. Awesome idea. So we are going to take our blade grip, we're going to take our arm. These are 20 or 32 millimeter. It's going to fit right on top just like that, very nicely. 2.5 millimeter driver, Loctite on our screw. We're going to get that guy started, and there's going to be 2 of those. One here and another one right here. And we're going to run this one all the way down and then tighten them both up. Now that that is done, our arm is on. You can see the cutout on the bottom for your nut. Then we're going to come back with a 2mm driver, Loctite on the ball, and we are going to run that all the way down and tighten that guy up. So now our one blade grip is completely assembled. Now we are going to take one bearing. You can see I have everything laid out here. We're going to take one of our bearings. We're going to push it just into place, just like that. There's one bearing. And now we are going to assemble the thrust bearing. So we are going to take our 2mm driver here, and we're going to start with one washer. We're going to start with our smaller ID of the thrust bearing cup. Now they want you to do the open side towards the blade itself. So open side, larger ID, and then we are going to drop all of this into place down inside of here, just like that. And then we are going to come back with our other bearing, and we're going to drop that guy into there just like that. And then we are going to do the exact same on the other side and keep this bearing into place here. So now we are going to get our blade grips put on our head block. You do get shims in the kit. Now, if you are using the POM dampeners, you do not use shims. If you're using the regular O-rings, you can shim it depending on your preference. So we are going to try with no shims, see how it feels, and then add them if need be. I recommend taking a smaller driver, go inside of here, just kind of work it around to make sure everything is inside straight and ready to go. You can see it on this one, how that shim is not straight, and now it is. And I also like to do that to get rid of any grease that might be on there and get in the threads. So now it is a 5mm driver. So we have 5mm Allen for our bolt, washer on, and Loctite already applied. So we are going to take our feathering shaft and we're going to slide our blade grip through one at a time, gently sliding it so we don't push anything out. We're just going to keep working it, kind of use your finger going there, just like that. We got one in. We're going to take our 5mm driver, Loctite on our screw, and we're just going to get that guy started just so we don't push it out. We're just going to run it down right till it stops. And then we're going to come over here and we are going to do the same thing. We are going to keep these grips. The manual tells you do not use retaining compound. I personally think you should, but I'm going to go with the way the manual tells you to build. So 5mm driver, Loctite on our screw, and tighten that down till it stops. Now, it is going to take a second to squish it all together because you got to squish. There we go. Now you can feel it tighten because your O-rings and everything have to squish together. Now take your two 5mm Allens and tighten the head down. I like to come back to the other side now, kind of do one and one, just to make sure it is torqued properly because I have more torque leverage with this than I do with the regular Allen. And now the head is completely assembled. Go make sure that it is smooth. There's no grittiness. There's no excess slop. Our head is done. Now we can move on. So now we are going to assemble the swash plate arms or washout arms. So now to assemble these, they're very simple. We're just going to take our bearings and we're going to push the bearing into place. Now again, the manual calls for no retaining compound. So we're going to assemble it that way. You're going to take a small spacer. You're going to drop it into there. And then you're going to take another bearing and you're going to push it into here, just like this. And then you're going to make sure that those are straight because if they start to go in crooked like that, it will not actually fit down. So make sure that when you're pushing them in, that they go in straight. And then you're going to do the exact same onto this side here. You're going to take your bearing, you're going to push it into place, get that done in there. And then you're going to come back with another one of these smaller brass spacers. Push that into there, come back, get it started. I found if you flip it over and use the hard table, it makes it easier. And then you are going to come back and do the exact same on this one. Now that our washout arms are done, we got our bearings in, we're going to set it aside. We're going to take one OMP Hobby facing out. We're going to take one of our plastic arms, OMP Hobby facing out. You are going to take these brass sleeves that are stepped and you are going to push one into each side of here. So you're going to have to either use a small pair of needle nose or just use your fingernail, push that into place, come back, do the exact same on this side, get it lined up, which can be a little bit tricky, but once you get it there, it will fall into place. So now that we got both of those in there, we can take our washout arm, You can slide it into here. So you might have to pry apart for a second. Then we're going to take one of these sleeves. We're going to come in from the outside. And we're going to have to make sure that that little tiny guy in the middle is aligned up. So take a small driver and just kind of guide it through. Just like that. Now come back, 1.5 millimeter driver. That little black beauty washer, Loctite on our screw. Get that guy started and then tighten it all the way down and snug it up. And then you can come back and you'll notice there's a little groove spot right here. You can use a small pair of needle nose to hold it and torque it down. There you go. OMP on the outside, OMP. Now do the exact same on your other one. So now that we got both of these done, just a tip, make sure that you're putting your arms on at the end of the OMP Hobby. So that way when you install them onto the actual head block, it all goes the right direction. So now we are going to not put any Loctite. These is a pinch clamp. So we don't want to tighten these down yet until we have the shaft on, and then we'll Loctite them. So for now, we're just going to slide our screw through just like this. You might have to use, oh, there it goes, just like that. And then you're going to take your small spacer, and it is beveled. So you want the flat side to go against the head block, the beveled side to ride against the bearing. So we're going to push that guy into there just like that. Then we are going to come back through here, and we're just going to get this started by hand. Again, we're not going to Loctite or tighten these down. So that is how it should look. Now flip the head over and do the exact same on the other side. So now on to the swash plate. So we're gonna get all the balls put in the swash plate. Now just pay attention to where it'll say M Series, Sky is Calling, and then OMP will be forward on the swash plate. So you are gonna use a 2 millimeter driver, Loctite on your threads, and you're gonna run all of the balls down all the way around, leaving the back one. So OMP Hobby forward, that back one is going to be your regular anti-rotation pin. So we're gonna put our anti-rotation pin on. We are going to put Loctite on our threads. And we're just gonna get that one done so that way we don't remember which side is which on the balls around. Now we're gonna come back, 2 millimeter driver, and run all of them all the way down and tighten them all the way up. Once you are done, this is what your swash plate will look like. Everything is Loctited. The rest of the swash plate is already pre-assembled. So now we can set that aside and start making linkages. So now we are gonna make our linkages. We make the 3 for the servo to swash and then swash to head. One thing we need to pay attention to, something I think is a cool feature OMP Hobby did, is you have your standard right hand thread, left hand thread. So clockwise, counterclockwise. Now, if you notice, it says up. I don't know if you can see that, but it says up. The up side is the left-handed thread. Now, they also pre-threaded our ball links. So these ends are pre-threaded with a left hand and a right-handed thread. So the way I can identify them is I looked up the numbers on the bag and translated it. The 6 is right-hand thread, and the 2 that's on the back side is left-hand thread. So just make sure you pay attention to that when assembling these links. So we're gonna take our 1.5 millimeter driver through the ball end. We're gonna start on the left-handed side, so our counterclockwise thread, and then it makes it easier just to run these all the way in. And then we're gonna flip it over, and we're gonna go onto our right-handed thread here. And now we want a overall diameter on the small ones of 71 millimeters if we're using the 32 millimeter arms. I'm using 32, or if you're using 37, you want an overall diameter of 74 millimeters. So you're going to assemble all of your linkages the same way. So the short ones are 71 millimeters. The long ones are going to be overall of around 88 millimeters. So go ahead and get all of them made up. So now that we got all of our linkages done and made up, we can set those aside with the swash plate and start on the central frame assembly, the central bearing block. So we're going to take our bearings. We're just going to push them into this center holder here. Nice and tight fit, and they fit down in there really nice. Very high quality bearings. I am impressed how smooth they are. And then we're gonna put the other one in, just like that. Now this is the same on both sides, so there's not a top and a bottom, so you can just build whatever side you want. So we're gonna start by making this the top. We're gonna come back with our upper block. Now we want the flat side to go to the back. We want this cutout side forward. We're gonna line up our screw holes, and we're just gonna push this bearing block into place, line up those holes, and then we're gonna come back, 2.5mm driver, Loctite on our screws. We're gonna get one started, then we're gonna come back and put the second one in. So now that we got both of our screws all the way tightened up, that is what it's gonna look like. Now we are gonna flip it over while we assemble this bearing block. So now we're gonna do the same thing. We are going to want these recesses to go forward, and we're gonna pop it down into here just like this. Just push down into place. We wanna line up those two holes just like that. And then we wanna come back with 2.5mm driver, Loctite on our screws. So we're gonna get one started. We're gonna snug it down, come back with our second one, of course, Loctite applied, and then tighten both of them all the way up, and that will help recess and suck this plate down flat against this bearing block. So now that that is done, this is what it'll look like. So now we are gonna actually come back in with these two lock nuts here, and we want the flat side to face out. So we're gonna drop them into place here. Might be easier to use little needle nose. So we're gonna drop that lock nut into place flat, just like that. Then we're gonna come back with our second lock nut, holding the first one so it don't pop out. We're gonna do the same thing. So there we go, they're both in there, just like this. Then we're gonna come back with this plate here. So now this plate, the little cutout is gonna go to the back, but right now we're building upside down. So we're just gonna flip this whole assembly over. The slots will go forward, and we are gonna drop it down into place, and it'll recess just like this. Then we're gonna come back, 1.5mm driver, Loctite on our screws with the countersunk screws, and we're gonna get two of them tightened up. Then we're gonna come back and get the other ones put in place. Now we're gonna come back with a third one right here into this middle hole, tighten it all the way up. So now this part is all completed. Now we're going to flip this assembly over. This is what it should look like. Now we're gonna come back with this guy, and this guy is gonna sit flat side to the carbon fiber, just like this. And then we're gonna put our 1.5mm driver, Loctite on our screws, and we are going to screw that guy all the way up. We're just gonna hold it into place here, like that. Get one started, pretty much snug it up, but don't tighten it all the way down yet. Move it into place here, get that one started, and then tighten both of them all the way down. And now that this is done, we can grab a frame side and get it all put together. So now we're gonna grab a frame side. Now both sides are pretty much the same, exception of cutout. So you'll see also too, OMP Hobby faces out on both sides. So this is your left side, this is your right side. We're gonna start with the left side. Of course, we want open side of the bearing block, lock nuts facing forward. And we are going to just set this guy down in there just like that. We are gonna go off of these 4 holes on each side. So they give you 2 different mounts in the box. So you see there's 2 different sizes. The instruction manual, I've gone through the whole thing, doesn't clarify the difference, but the difference is the longer side is the side for the elevator servo. You can see the cutout there. So we're gonna start with the longer side down, just like this. It should all line up. We are gonna drop it into place, and then we are gonna come back with our 2mm driver. It might be easier to do it like this, just to get that guy started. I'll put it on the side like this so you can kind of see what I'm doing. We're gonna get this one started. Then we're gonna come back, again, 2.5mm driver, Loctite on our screw, get it shoved through there, and then we're gonna tighten both of these all the way up. So now that both of those are tightened up, same thing for the upper mount. We want the longer one with the holes going to the elevator servo, 2.5mm driver, Loctite on our screw. We're gonna slide it right through here, get that one started, run it almost all the way till it's tight, still move around. Then we're gonna come back, the other 2.5mm driver, and we're gonna get that one ran all the way down, tighten it all the way up. So now that is done, this is what it'll look like. You want the servo angle facing back. So we're gonna do the exact same on the other side. The only difference is they're not as long, but everything else is the same. So go ahead and get that done. So we got both of our frame sides done. So now we're gonna set this guy aside for a second, and we are going to do the ESC mount. ESC mount, very simple, OMP Hobby up, countersunk holes up, flat side down. You're going to take these little metal things, little mounts, flat side to the carbon fiber, line up your holes with the countersunk, 1.5mm driver, Loctite on your screw, and tighten these guys all the way up. You're You're gonna have 2 per mount, and then you're gonna do that 3 times because there is 3 of them. So now that this one is done, you're gonna put 1 here and 1 here. So get that done, and we can mount this to the frame. So now that is done, just like that. Now we are gonna come back with our main frame assembly, OMP Hobby up and forward. So it's gonna go in there just like this. And we are gonna come back to our frame. You'll notice notches and the 3 holes. 1, 2, 3. That is what we're gonna go after on both sides. So we're going to drop this guy into here, just like that. We're gonna hold a little bit of pressure to hold it there. 2.5 millimeter driver, Loctite on our threads. And we're gonna run that screw all the way down, not fully tight, just to where it's snug. And we're gonna come back with our second one, same exact thing, run it all the way down, just till it's snug, and then come back with our third one. And we're gonna run that one all the way down, tighten it up, and then come back and tighten these other 2, and then do the exact same on that side, get all 3 of your screws in here. So now we're gonna start assembling the fly barless mount. So we have our mount here, counterside holes up. We have this damper plate, a weighted plate is what they're calling it. I'm going to install it just like this. They say in the manual, depending on the fly barless unit, it's not needed. I'm not exactly sure what the processor and an icon is, but Loctite on our screw, countersunk hole up. We're just gonna keep it snug. Second 1.5 millimeter driver, run it down, tighten both of these all the way up, put your second 2 in, and then we can start on the rubber mounts. Now that that is done, see, fully tightened, Loctited. I did go ahead and I had to drill these holes out just a little bit bigger to help get all this in there because it was too tight and it would tear the grommet. So you're gonna take your grommet, counterside hole up, and you're just going to push that grommet down into place, just like you would do a servo grommet. So you're just gonna feed that grommet into the hole here, get it all the way worked in. Sometimes easier to use a 1.5 little driver and just kind of push it, feed it, work it around carefully so you don't tear the grommet. Once you get that grommet worked into place, that is what it'll look like. I'm gonna take a little bit of 3-in-1 silicone oil, and I'm just gonna put a little drop, and that drop is just to help with this sliding in so you don't tear that grommet. You're gonna take your brass insert and you're just gonna push it right into place like that. So now we're gonna do the exact same on the other 3, and then we can mount the boom clamps to the frame and the fly barless mount to the boom clamps. Once you are finished up, this is what your fly barless mount will look like. All of our grommets are in, our brass inserts. We're gonna set that aside. Now we're gonna do the boom clamps. So on the boom clamps themselves, you will notice that you want, if you're looking from the back, you want the clamping cutout to be to the right. You want your boom lock or identifier to keep the boom straight to the left. Standoff mount tabs up. So you are only going to put, we're going to start with the back one, which is this one right here. And you're only going to put 1 screw into each one at the top. So we're going to line our hole up just like that. 2.5 millimeter driver, Loctite applied to our screw. And we're going to get that guy started. So we're going to get it to where it's almost tight. We'll finish tightening them once we put the fly barless mount on, because that will lock the 2 clamps together. Same thing, cut out to the right. Standoff tabs to the top. We're gonna line this guy up. 2.5 millimeter driver, Loctite applied. Get that guy started, just like that. And then we're gonna leave it just a little snug so it can still move a little bit. And then you're gonna do the exact same on this side, and then we'll tighten it down once we get the mount on. So now we got both of our clamps loosened, not all the way tight. They can still wiggle around. 2 screws on each side at the top. Now we're gonna take our mount. It doesn't matter which way it goes, this way or this way. Bolt holes forward, and we're gonna drop our mount down into place. And then we're gonna come back, 2 millimeter driver, Loctite on our screw. We're gonna slide it down, get one started. Then we're gonna come back with our second one, and we're gonna do this one in the front here, just so that way it kind of cross holds everything together. Get that guy started. Tighten both of these all the way up, and then put your last 2 screws into place. So now that all 4 screws are in and Loctited, tighten down, tighten these 2 down. Now we're gonna take this little sleeve guy, and we're just going to slide it into place just like this. Kind of roll it as you go, and then you can straighten it out afterwards. Perfect. There, that is into place now. Now we can move on to our canopy mounts and belt tensioner assembly. So now for the canopy mounts, we're going to take our canopy mount and our carbon fiber tab. Of course, round side, the bigger side fits flush just like this. We are going to come back with our 2mm driver, and we are using the smaller screws on this, so the M3x6 Loctite on the threads. Get that guy started, tighten it down, and then you're going to do the exact same, but the opposite direction. So you make a left and a right. Again, M3x6, 2mm driver, tighten that all the way up. So you'll have a left and a right. Now we're going to put the ball ends on there. So again, 2mm driver, Loctite on our threads here. And we're just going to go in from the outside just like this. And then you're going to do the exact same on the other one. So now we got our left and our right side done, fully tightened down and Loctited. Now we are going to grab the mainframe assembly. And we need this crossbar. So these canopy mounts are going to sit into that hole. The screw head will fit there just like that. So we're going to hold that guy into place. We are going to take our canopy cross mount here, which is going to fit in between the frame rails. Then we're going to come back with our 2mm driver with the M3x8 Loctite on our screw. We're going to get one snugged up, and then we're going to flip the assembly over, and we're going to do the exact same on this side. So we're just going to hold it in place, Loctite on our screw, 2mm driver, and then I'm going to take my other 2mm driver from the other side, and I'm going to now tighten these guys down. That is complete. Now our canopy posts are installed, and now we can move on to the tensioner pulley and tensioner setup. Now for the tensioner idler, this is the upper part. You will notice how it kind of kicks up, and we want our threads on the right side. We are going to be grabbing this little guy here. We're going to stick one bearing in the bottom, just like this, push it into place. Then we're going to drop this little spacer right in from the top. Then come back with our second bearing, and we're going to push this all together. Might need to use a flat surface to help get it all pushed into place. So now that should look like that. So now we are going to come back, and this tensioner is going to sit inside of here like this. So I'm going to put this secondary bracket on top just to kind of hold it all together. And then we're going to come back with a 1.5mm driver, Loctite on our screw. And we're going to get that screw started just to kind of hold it in place here. And then we are going to grab our secondary screw, which is going to come in from the bottom. So we're going to push all this into place. That's going to be a 2mm driver, Loctite on our threads. We're going to work it all into here. We're not going to tighten none of this down yet till we get our second screw in. Then we're going to come back with our second 1.5mm driver. We're going to drop that screw into here, get that screw started. And then before it's all tightened down, let's get this guy snugged up some more. Now I'm going to tighten both of these guys all the way up before I tighten that bottom screw all the way up. Now we're going to tighten this one down. And then now that should move freely. And that part is assembled. So now we are going to assemble the bigger pulleys. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to push one bearing into place. Very snug fit. Once we get that bearing in, then we're going to come back with our spacer, drop that guy into there just like that. Upper bearing, we'll do the same thing. We'll flip it over, push it into place. And now we got both bearings in, and we'll do the same thing on this one. Get your bearings in there. Now we got both of these guys done. Now we're going to put our right side on first. So that guy is just going to sit down on there. There's a little lip, so no need for a washer. And we are going to be using the smaller M4x18 Loctite on our screw, 3mm driver, and get this guy tightened all the way up. So now that that is done, you should see this be able to move side to side, which is perfect. And then now we're going to come back 3mm driver with the longer M4x24. And then we're going to put Loctite on our threads. And we're going to slide that screw through here. Then we're going to come back with our spacer. It is a shape of a cone. So we want the cone side down, flat side, the bigger side towards the actual tensioner. And then we're going to tighten that guy all the way up. And now double check and make sure everything is smooth. Everything is free, no tight spots. So now this guy is fully assembled. And now we are going to install the tensioner into the mainframe. So we want the swivel part to be on the right side of the frame. We are going to slide the tensioner assembly up into place, and it's only going to fit just like this. So there it goes. You'll see our screw holes line up. This can still pivot. So we're going to start on the right side and then we'll work our way to the left side. So we need this little carbon fiber plate and we need our tensioner assembly. And the first thing we are going to do is we are going to thread this guy into here. This is a left-handed thread. So you're going to have to go left and we're going to screw this guy all the way down just like that. And then we're going to take our carbon fiber plate and we need to align the plate with the little line in here. So we're going to actually have to screw it out just a little bit, just like that. 1.5 millimeter driver, Loctite on our screw. We're going to get one screw hole lined up and then we're going to stick that tensioner assembly into place and you'll see it fit right into that thread there. We're going to snug it up, Loctite on our screw, come back with our second 1.5 millimeter driver. We're going to push that screw into place and get that screw started and then tighten both of them all the way up. So now we got both of those tightened up. This will move and that's our tensioner. Now we're going to come back, 2.5 millimeter driver, Loctite on our screw, come to the top hole, tighten that guy all the way down. So now we're going to flip our frame to the left side. Same thing, 2.5 millimeter driver going to that top hole right there. Get that guy started, Loctite on our threads. Then we're going to come back with our 2 millimeter driver. We got 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. So we're just going to start with our top one, Loctite on our thread, tighten that guy all the way up. Once we are done with that one, we'll come back and put our last 2 tensioner screws in. Again, 2 millimeter driver, tighten that guy all the way up, Loctite, and then put your last one in right there. So future here, just editing this and I realized how long this build video is getting. So we are going to end this video off part 1 here. Part 2, we will get it to the stage of where you see it right now. The build is going great. OMP did a really nice job. It is a very quality kit. I am impressed with it. So we will get part 2 together, get it out, and it'll start going really fast in that part because now it's ready for the servos, lower frames, and it'll look like a helicopter, but we did go with the painted blue boom. So there you guys go. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Take care and have a great day.